quarterback.
Oh, there's a goal. It bounces. Oh, at least I thought he was going to until he blew it.
I'm free. I'm free from the grasp of football for about 5 minutes. Now it's time for real sports to take hold of this channel. The hockey world has been chaos. And dazzling speed and skill, and more chaos. Welcome to the NHL season, which I am totally not doing because I didn't have time to do a full-fledged haters guide. I'm definitely not pissed off at myself for it. And I'm gonna pretend that it never happened and this is the real thing. Not a cheap imitation. Not at all. Sorry. Meet the top 2 teams of the Atlantic, Florida and Toronto. Both are expected and will most likely be running into each other in late April. What's to be said about the Panthers? They're the reigning cup champions facing the many suitors eager to strip them of their title. The usual suspects are still doing their thing. Barkov's a superstar, Kachuk's a monster, Bennett's still an absolute pest. Spencer Knight's back full-time too. Now a few of their newer pieces are starting to mesh and goaltending leaves things to be desired, but things are humming smoothly. Yet they have serious competition. The Leafs have always been an incredible regular season team. Metric dominance and analytical darlings. But they've been on fire over the past few weeks. Sure, the high-end talent and skill for days on end, but the biggest surprise to me has been in their defense and goaltending. Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz have been brick walls. One of the lowest goals against per game in the league. And the data more than backs it up. The Chiefs' influence has been felt. Now the question is if this can be sustained. The Austin Matthews injury was a scare, but their new captain was able to survive it. The Maxes have also had their ailments. As long as they don't run into their respective owners again, they should have a good shot of winning another series. Once again, though, that's mainly if things pan out. We still have some huge Marner and Tavares questions to answer. Mitch is once again gonna want Matthews' money. This might be the last ride with him considering his demands. Get to it, boys. There's always been one constant in the hockey world. It's Boston's impeccable boys club reigning supreme. Jeremy Jacobs doesn't have to worry. TD Garden's always going to be full to capacity. Sure, the team's been struggling mightily throughout the early game. Sure, their power play's one of the worst in the league. Sure, their goalies couldn't catch a damn cold if they were surrounded by toddlers. Bruins just need to take care of one thing nobody expects. NHL coaches have incredibly short leashes. You struggle for even the slightest amount of time, you're kicked to the curb like Jim Montgomery. Hate to be the contrarian, but the Bruins' issues were more on Sweeney and Neely, no? Monty usually had Boston overachieving. They broke up the two-headed monster in net for cap reasons. They spent an entire offseason playing chicken and having a public spat with Jeremy Swayman over a few $100,000. Throwing money at a third-pairing defenseman and an extremely poor-fitted center out of desperation. Regardless, their new man behind the bench is Joe Sacco. Let's just say his first coaching stint in the NHL didn't go so well. The short-term jolt has given them a win streak. They're probably going to make the playoffs. The boys club reigns supreme once again. How the hell is Corpus Salo the better goalie this year? Ride the lightning. Much as the rest of the Atlantic wishes they would lie down and die, there will never be such a day in the short-term future. Look at how they score goals almost at will and be washed away in the waves of offense. That power play has always been the envy of Canes. And removing Stamkos from his office hasn't done much of anything to limit them. With Kucherov healthy, there's no need. Jake and Bake has been as advertised, and Brandon Hagel is a dynamo. Strong top-end power and a smattering of character in the depth with one major flaw. They need a real backup goalie. You just can't ride Vasilevsky all year and expect success. Jonas Johansson has an NHL job. That's all you need to know about that situation. If they don't do anything quickly, they're gonna burn out like a supernova. Feels like the rest of the Atlantic just falls into the usual traps. Oh, don't you worry, Detroit's gonna get it together. Montreal has so much youth and talent on the way. Buffalo and Ottawa could eventually do something good. But it never happens like that. The Red Wings in particular have been a colossal disappointment. The Yzer plan was showing progress for a few months last year, yet it's once again stalled out. Looks like Stevie made some colossal mistakes developing his back end. Those awful free agency contracts have come back to roost. Simon Edvinsson was caught in a logjam, so they were forced to ship off Jake Wallman to the New Age Coyotes for nothing. And that's pretty much been their year. Little's working and the fan base is getting impatient. He thinks Gru's about to be sent to the moon if things don't shape up. Ottawa exists? Oh lord, we wish they didn't. It's the same shit with them. Core struggling to launch, weak team depth, and iffy goaltending. There's a reason why Damian Rhodes cried like a little girl when he was traded here. He knew this is where netminders go to die. They might have some hope there for once. Linus Ullmark got a nice extension this past offseason. He's not Korpisalo. Thank God. finally doing something instead of straddling a fence. Thank God. Montreal? What to say about them besides they're cursed? Talented prospects coming in, but still another year of pain and misery awaits. Acquiring Patrick Laine was supposed to be a harbinger of improvement. A knee-on-knee hit in the preseason delayed his debut until recently. And David Reinbacher. Can't forget about his long-term injury either. The rebuild continues. And it's gonna be with painful goaltending and hoping the core continues to develop. And the Sabres. Buffalo's Groundhog Day. No matter what they try to do, no matter the prospects they bring into the system, no matter the throwback coaches, the same damn results keep happening. A circle of futility they just can't break out of. Goaltending is still a major flaw. And Devon Levi is not developing. Team defense is, how to say it, awful. They are on yet another long losing streak. Maybe they could blow more 4-goal leads. That should do the trick. If I were to peg a team as a surprise in the East, Washington, they're great again? Huh. Turns out overhauling to extend the OV era was a stroke of genius, rejuvenating a beleaguered and injury-wrecked core. Now, I respect them for reloading on the fly, but in no way did I expect it to go this well. They're absolutely dominant from an offensive perspective. Over 4 goals per game, overbearing 5-on-5, one of the best PKs in hockey. Is this 2016? Everything's clicking at a level thought impossible. Dylan Strome is a superstar. Logan Thompson's dominant. Ovi's playing like he's 15 years younger. McMichael and Protosh are emerging in the top 6 with the analytics to back it up. Even the enigma Pierre-Luc Dubois has been given new life in the nation's capital. Finally playing like a man worthy of the talents that have been bestowed upon him. The transitionary phase from the old guard's going incredibly smoothly. Who knew that the power of friendship really was ridiculously potent? Except for that. Let's pretend that never happened, shall we? In the star-crossed fates that is the Metro, 2 teams are entangled in a web of talent, tribulations, and tests. Those being Carolina and New Jersey. Hurricanes should be surging throughout the land. A top-tier NHL offense, an elite penalty kill, and Martin Necas competing for the Ross of all things should be proof of it. Yet they're still frustrating. What the hell do you think the Canes' issue is? It's been the same shit for the past few years. Goaltending. It's atrocious. Kachekhov's been substandard, but that alone isn't enough to explain their struggles. That would be Freddie. Mr. Anderson, out long-term with injury? Surely you jest, that's never happened to him at all. At backup, they're now down to a god-awful Spencer Martin and some experimental robot named Yaniv Peretz. Enough said. Should have done what New Jersey did and overhaul the unit. It's worked out well for them so far. Jacob Markstrom and their defensive upgrades have more than done the trick. The team save percentage is above 900. It's more than enough to make them relevant. Plus, with that power play, with the high-end ability on their roster, they're more than good enough to make it to the dance. If they go further, that's up to Sheldon Keefe. Toronto sends their regards. Welcome back to another season of All My Rangers. The Garden of Eden does not exist in New York, for it is merely drama at every turn. A chasm of despair that threatens to undo the core fabric that weaves their identity. In Chesty, they trust everything, as long as you pay up. He rejected a handsome extension back in September. Unfortunately, you can't elbow him in the face Trouba style. The troubadour will not be stopped, especially by the Rangers. A long spat stripped bare like his captaincy. And his punishment is a trip to a fate worse than death itself. Pray for his poor wife. How did the Rangers not have to retain any salary in this deal? And they got assets back? Fucking Anaheim really is a locale franchise. Stripping away the core has led to calamity. The team as a whole is ineffective as Mika Zibanejad at even strength. Incessant losing is on the menu. The sky is falling. MSG caving in on itself as James Dolan's probably too distracted with the Knicks to do much of anything. But salvation is finally on the way. Shesty's been extended for a shitload of money. You gotta pay the New York tax, and you have to pay the price for All My Rangers. Capo Caco, you bitch too much for our liking. Kindly get the fuck out. The rest of the Metro is an interesting bag. You have the struggling, the rebuild, and the teams that should have been rebuilding years ago. Philadelphia, let's just say their sudden surge last year has given way to a team visibly undergoing construction. Do you think they miss or what? Their goaltending situation in 2024 is, shall we say, undesirable. 3 young goalies and none of them can make a save. When most of the team is middling and the likes of Jimmy Drysdale are struggling, you get a failure to launch. But hey, who gives a shit about all that? Have you seen Matvei Mishkov? Dude's a fucking beast. Superstar Philly's been dying for. That alone makes them fun to watch. Unlike the Islanders. Can anyone explain how their special teams units are so unfathomably bad? Why can't they score with a damn? I know they lack high-end talent and their team's dealing with an injury wave, but Lou, do something! And I don't mean sign third-liners to regrettable 7-year deals. The only positives for the year have been Isaiah George and Max Siplikov. How bad would this team be without Sorokin? But at least they aren't Pittsburgh. The Penguins suck. The rest of hockey celebrates this revelation. Fans everywhere blow out candles like Pittsburgh blows multi-goal leads with ease. They try to defend it. What defense? You're the everyone on it's terrible. About as unplayable as Tristan Jarry is right now. Selling at the deadline? What is there to sell? The only player with value not locked up long-term is Marcus Pettersson. Crosby did agree to an extension back in August, but I wonder if he has any regrets now. His team is DOA with little on the way. What do you mean they're winning again? What the hell is this team in a playoff spot? Jesus. All I can say about Columbus, Johnny Hockey should still be playing. I honestly don't know what they do or where they go from here. Losing such a core piece of the franchise, even if he was struggling, is a brutality that shouldn't be endured. Nothing they do on the ice matters this year. It's all about healing and recovery for them. This year's for Gaudreau. Make him proud. If you were to tell me that the hottest team to start the year would be Winnipeg, I'd have to take a step back. The Jets? Really? They're a good team with a strong goalie tandem and youth, but a wagon? Sure, whatever you say. Reality stranger than any fiction. A powerhouse is their reward. Hellebuck assembling the best performances of his career worthy of a Vezina. A well-rounded forward core flush with depth. White-hot power play. There's little you can ask for in the true north. Perhaps you can call them kings. But that might have been a mirage. They've regressed back to the mean since that impeccable run. It honestly was inevitable. The Jets were flying way over their heads, but still. We can only tell our grandchildren about Winnipeg's early season swoon. Normally, this would just be a Winnipeg Jets moment as they dominate the Central. Not today. There's recently been a challenger that's usurped them. Minnesota. I mean, I can buy it. Philip Gustafson's been living up to his sky-high potential. Their top 6 has been incredible in its skill and scale. You'd think Winnipeg's been good on the defense and goalie front, the Wild have been even better. Suffocating and vacuum-sealed in their defensive end. Although their PK's middling for some reason. It's all buoyed by a strong 5-on-5 offensive attack and a quality top 6. Kirill Kaprizov, man. Legendary. So far so good, even with injuries chipping away at them. With the John Hines unit. With bat-whopping production from Yakov Trenin. Strange times we live in. Let's see if they can hold off the Hounds of War. Those Hounds, Dallas and Colorado, are dealing with being second tier in the Central for now. A rare sight if I say so myself. The Stars aren't doing anything wrong, to be fair. Ottinger got himself a hefty extension and is rewarding Dallas with excellent play. The only real demerit to them so far has been an injury to Tyler Seguin. Although you could probably say that every year. No need to panic merely being in third place. Just restrain yourselves and get ready for April. Not much else to say there. But the Avs are, well, they're in a bit of a pickle. Did you see how better their forward depth was? They were down to AHL fodder in October. Praise be the glories of Ivan Ivan. The fortunate thing is that's gotten a bit better since Lekin and Colton and Nichushkin have returned for varying reasons. Yet many problems still remain. I'm mainly thinking about those in net. It's the 2023 Devils problem all over again. Goaltending has collapsed like Forgiev. The only solution is to purge everything and collect lumber. Wedgwood and Blackwood, the newest fortifications in Denver. Early returns on Wedgwood have been strong. Hopefully Blackwood can keep up the form he had in San Jose. Good to see him back. He carried Jersey for a bit. Behold the glories of Your off-season champions banner will be coming in the mail. Standard shipping. So the Blues are dealing with their namesake. Injuries have battered a significant portion of the lineup. Even their prize RFA acquisitions in Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg haven't been spared. Everything has gone to shit and nobody can score. The cold streak is very real, yet it's not necessarily Drew Bannister's fault. They can survive for another year. Ooh, Jim Montgomery's available? Hey Drew, get in here and take a look at these buildings by the window. Can you get a bit closer to it? Get a good view of those details and go pipe! Ouch. A parachute to break the fall, huh? Thank you for your heroic sacrifice, Mr. Bannister. We'll forget you in 5 minutes. Enjoy Cam Fowler as another defensive anchor. And how he is? Don't look at his stats this year. I'm honestly just happy that I don't have to groan at the Coyotes' latest round of organizational incompetence. No, Utah still hasn't figured out a name for their team yet. They still haven't figured out how to win consistently either. But they have a nice young core, and they did extend Dylan Genther long term. Because as we all know, first impressions are important. They're still on the fringes of playoff contention, so all's going okay so far. About what I expected from Utah. Relatively above average goaltending with an offense still trying to forge out the depth. They'll get to renovating that stadium of yours and call it a day. Begin the final leg of this long overdue video. The Pacific. Edmonton was incredibly close to tasting the glories of the Cup 6 months ago. The goal now is to try and get back to it. Easier said than done. The definition of insanity for the Oilers. Depth, defense, and goaltending. They have issues there. Good lord, you keep trying to add piles of brick on top of quicksand. What'd you expect to happen? Connor and Leon are doing yet another carry job, and it's obvious to anyone that has eyes. They're honestly lucky to even be in the situation they're in instead of the basement. But who cares about those things? The real question is with Connor and Leon. They're due for extension soon, and Dreisaitl's gonna get a haul and a half. Whew. Yeah, that sounds about right for Leon. Edmonton didn't really have a choice here, though. Hey, if you think this is ridiculously steep, just wait until the extension for McJesus. But I have full faith in the efforts of Stan Bowman. Did they not see how he butchered Chicago in his final years there? For the rest of the division, it turns into a race to the top. Vegas currently leads it to little surprise. Same goes for Mark Stonebow, dominating and having to go into a shop for repairs. Good offense, quality defense, strong power play, the standard Golden Knights experience. There's room for improvement, but they're in the same boat as Dallas. Just keep pace and find form for April. As long as you ignore that whole Robin Lehner fracas before the year. Don't worry, that was solved and Robin's gonna get his money. The Kings are ever so slightly behind them in the great race. Andrzej Kopitar is an ageless wonder. Still grinding an elite form at his age. Behind him in quality forward depth, they complement one of the better defenses in the game. Note that this is without the 1-3-1. And without a reliable 1-2 punch in net. So far it's going according to plan. Should result in playing another few games in the playoffs. Winning a series to be determined. Calgary and Vancouver are just happy to get there. The Canucks made it last year, but when you go through that long pit of misery, you don't want it to be a fluke. Praise be to their good fortune. There was a man in net. His name was Thatcher Demko. He's still recovering from injury. But then, from above, divine intervention blessed them with an unsung hero beyond compare. That soul is Kevin Lankinen. Archer Shelovs, he's old news. He's trash now, he can go to the minors. You just hope JT Miller's okay after his leave of absence. He is back in the saddle as well as Demko. Great news indeed. The Flames have their own revelation. Dustin Wolf. The top prospect finally given the reins between the pipes. He's been a solid starter behind a quality defense, which is honestly needed. You'd think they'd be able to score a bit or something. 2.5 goals a game ain't gonna cut it, boys. They need something elite to emerge from the ranks. Huberdeau, gonna live up to your contract? Please? Speaking of living up to something, is Seattle really anything or just a figment of our imagination? Great news, Ronnie franchise, you finally have a goalie. The only problem is that it isn't Grubauer. His contract's an albatross. Joey Decord's carrying this team while they try to hasten the development of Shane Wright and Matty Beniers. Wright has been on a hot streak as of late. Maybe it's working. They kinda need something to jolt the franchise. They've been in a malaise for the past year and a half. These final teams, there's only one guarantee in life. Tanking. There are more than a few teams that are either trying to be bad or straight up bad. And it's standard operating procedure in Anaheim. The Ducks, like Buffalo, are experiencing Groundhog Day. Nothing changes. Nobody's developing. You sit around wondering what the hell Pat Verbeek's doing over there. The Troubadour? The Rangers had no leverage, my dude. Now we sit around and wonder if they trade Trevor Zegras as he's injured for roughly the third year in a row. I can't wait for them to waste Lukas Stochdal like they've done Gibson. San Jose is doing the Arizona Coyotes, simply acquiring terrible contracts and former prospects to rebuild for the future. One word of advice, more Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini, please. When Macklin isn't injured, he looks like he could be something special. Maybe Smith gets there too. They even got Yaroslav Askarov after he dared to demand a trade. This year is merely about continuing the long overhaul and getting a hopeful haul for a rehabilitated Mikael Granlund. Good for him to get back to form. But Chicago, looks like the Bears aren't the only smoldering fire in that city. Are they ever gonna find proper line mates for Connor Bedard? Will the Blackhawks ever find the ability to score goals? Will firing Luke Richardson do anything to help, or was it just a placebo? Whatever you say, it's still a wreck. At least they aren't Nashville. Thank you for joining me on this hastily rushed video. I look forward to seeing you in the NHL All-Star Haters Guide coming out. Ah, fucking God!